Hello and welcome to another episode of me reacting to fan-made cards I found online. I've got a set of 8 project cards today that were made by AudunAG. I already covered a few cards they made in the past, and this set was quite recently created. I found it on Reddit. It was posted 9 days ago while I was recording this video, so mid-November. And the first, as always, also, the Reddit post is linked in the description. Please check it out if you want to discuss the quality of these cards or the balancing or whatever with the creator. Please drop them a like. I really appreciate that so many people post fan-made cards online. I find it really, really interesting. And this first card here, Animal Breeding Facility, costs 16. It requires 3 animal tags. I think the only other card that requires an animal tag to play is Advanced Ecosystems. That only requires 1 animal tag plus a plant and a microbe tag. It has an animal tag itself. It grants 2 instant points and also 2 animals, which mostly means 2 more points. There's nearly only animal collecting cards that grant points per animal. I think Martian Zoo is the only other card that grants income based on animals. And I think the elephant in the room here is the 3 animal requirement. There are only quite a few animal cards in the game. Base game, there are only 9 animal tags. If you look at everything, like all expansions except Prelude 2, with all expansions except Prelude 2, you have 16 project cards with an animal tag, plus Arclight, Cooperation that has an animal tag. And then you also have 3 wild tags on a Prelude, a project card, and a Cooperation. Of course, Prelude 2 also introduced a few more wild tags and animal tags. But point is, there are very few animals in the game. Like in the base game, for example, 9 cards out of 208 have animals on them. So that's like 5%, and you need to get 3 of them. That's very, very unlikely. And what do you get out of it? Basically, you get 2 points minimum. If you have 3 animal tags, you better also have animal collecting cards, and you better have at least one 1-point animal. So that would mean that you get 4 points out of this. Let's compare it to Advanced Ecosystems. That card costs 11, grants 3 flat points, and if you have Ecozone or Decomposers, it can grant up to 5 points, which is insane. And a breeding facility cannot go above 4 points really, because it only has 1 tag, Decomposers and Ecozone, but wouldn't bump it up another full point. So I think Animal Breeding Facility is just too expensive for what it does. I think it's fun to have a card that has such a high requirement based on animals. I like that it gives animals that you can put on other animal cards, but this should cost drastically less. I think something like 10 MC, something like that. It would be a really, really good card at 10 MC if you can get it down, similarly to Advanced Ecosystems. But I think it's much harder to get down than Advanced Ecosystems. Therefore, it should like have a better effect flat. And I mean, this can flat grant 4 points if you have 1-point animal. And it should be a bit cheaper than Advanced Ecosystems. So I think get this down to 10, maybe even 8 MC, and then this card would be fine. But I really like the picture. Bacterial Culture Lab is the next one. This costs 15 MC, has a microbe tag, a building tag, grants a point, and it allows you to either add 2 microbes to this card or remove as many microbes as you want and add them to any other card. I think this one is really interesting. So there are microbe cards with requirements like decomposers and GHG producing bacteria, Venusian insects. You could play, if you have them on hand and you can't play them yet because the requirement isn't met yet, then you can play Bacterial Culture Lab first, use that a couple of gens, and then put all the microbes on the other card that you got down. And then while that other card is running, using up these microbes or just collecting more microbes because it's a point card like Decomposers, then you can use Bacterial Culture Lab and then put the microbes at some point before the end of the game on that other card again. So basically there's two different ways to use this. Either if you plan on putting them on something like Decomposers or Ants, you get it down as soon as possible, collect as many microbes as you can until the end of the game, and then in the last gen move them all over in one fell swoop to that other card. Or you play it earlier, well, you play it in gen 1 for something like GHG producing bacteria. You use it until you can play GHG producing bacteria, then you move over all of the microbes from Bacterial Culture Lab, start using GHG producing bacteria, and use Bacterial Culture Lab simultaneously. And at some point when GHG producing bacteria is empty again, you move over some more microbes again. Is this worth 15 MC? Well, first of all, the point and the building tag make it a bit better. Point is roughly worth 5 MC, I would say maybe 4 MC, 4 or 5 MC. And building tag makes it much easier to play if you have steel. If you have a really strong microbe card like ants or GHG producing bacteria or Venusian insects, I think Bacterial Culture is definitely interesting. For a card like ants, it's worse than, it has its ups and downs versus Extreme Cold Fungus. What is not as good about Bacterial Culture Lab is that you need to, first of all, it's more expensive, but it also grants a point, so that's okay. You need to use an action to move the microbes from Bacterial Culture Lab to that other card, so we'll get less microbes out of it. But the fact that you can play, that you can collect microbes for cards like GHG producing bacteria before that card is even played is really, really nice. So it's a good microbe combo card, and it's a really interesting idea that can help smooth things out with cards like GHG producing bacteria or some of the Venus microbe cards like sulfur eating bacteria. Make them easier and more efficient to play. I think this is a great idea, and it's probably in the right setup quite strong. So yeah, I like it. Next up, we have Balloon Probe. This costs 1 MC, has a Venus tag and an event tag. So cheap event, really good for Media Group or IC, and it just draws you a Venus card. I think cards like this are absolutely necessary to make Venus work if you're playing with all expansions, and they definitely also help if you're just playing with Venus Next, because a lot of the Venus cards rely on either the Venus getting increased or you having more Venus tags and stuff, and you need to find them in the incredibly large deck, especially if you play with all expansions. And they noticed that when designing Prelude 2, there are some cards in there that allow you to fish for Venus cards or allow you to buy Venus cards for free and stuff like that. Balloon Probe is quite, I wouldn't say underwhelming, but it's a small card. It just allows you to draw a Venus card. But the thing is, if you don't have combo potential, you pay more for that Venus card than you should, because you're paying 3 to buy Balloon Probe and 1 to activate it. That's 4, and you just get 1 card. The opportunity cost of picking this up in the draft is really, really high because it has so little impact. If you draw it for free, or if you have combo potential, that can change. Or if you really, really are looking for more Venus tags, but it's a super small impact card. Probably wouldn't play it that often. But yeah, especially if you get it for free or you have Media Group or both together, then Balloon Probe can be nice. But again, still then it's low impact. Next we have Holograms. This is a really interesting one. It costs 20, so pretty steep price, but nice for Credit Core, and because of the 2 points, also nice for Vitor. It requires 2 science tags. That's a pretty low requirement. Has a science tag itself. It draws you 6 cards, which is insane. And then it also draws every other player 2 cards. So there's only, I think, the only card that draws the opponent's card is Sponsored Academies, that only draws 1 card for each opponent. That card is still quite good. Holograms, I think, is also quite good. If you play this in the mid to late game and you're looking for payoffs, like especially in a science strategy like that, you're looking for science payoffs, you're looking for Jovian payoffs, I could absolutely see myself playing this, and it fits very well into a science strategy with the science tech itself. Drawing every other player 2 cards is quite dangerous. They could also find exactly that what they're looking for. Like if you're doing a science strat, which is likely if you're playing holograms, your opponent is rushing and they find GAA because you drew it for them. That's dangerous, but it's still plus, like you get 4 cards more than your opponents. So that's still very, very nice. Is it worth 20 MC? 6 times 3 is 18, but we should probably deduct the 2 cards that your opponents get. So 4 times 3, that's only 12. And then 12 plus 8 or 10, that's 20 to 22 MC for a card that costs 20 plus 3. I think the value is a bit lacking. It could be a little bit cheaper. Then, of course, it wouldn't be as nice for Credit Core. But yeah, it's an interesting card. In the right circumstance, I could see myself playing it. If I'm doing a science engine strat and I'm looking for payoffs, either science payoffs, green combo payoffs, Jovian payoffs. But yeah, it has its downsides, and the value, I think, isn't that insane. All right, but let's get on to Idealistic Movement. This one, however, I think is insane. It costs 6 MC, has no tag, and it allows you up to 3 times raise 1 global parameter without getting TR or any other bonuses. You can mix and match here because you do it 3 times, and each time you can erase 1 global parameter. So you could say I want to do 2 oceans and a temperature bump. There are multiple use cases for this. Either you can use it to get a card down, like kelp farming, stratospheric birds, Venusian animals, trees. Really, really efficient cards that get unlocked relatively late on the track. In that regard, it's stronger than Adaption Tech or Special Design because you can do 3 steps, or you could mix and match if you have multiple cards. And also it works for multiple cards in a row. Like if you have algae and kelp farming, you can just get to 6 oceans and then you can play both of them. But that also means that it works for your opponent. Like if you have algae and you place 3 oceans to get to algae, and your opponent has kelp farming, he will be very happy about that. But still, in the right scenario, that is a very, very good use case for this. Like if you have kelp farming, Venusian animals, or any of these other cards I said, then Idealistic Movement is really, really nice. Of course, you're paying 9 MC to get this down. You will definitely need to factor that into your calculation of if that card is worth it. Because basically you're not paying 17 for kelp farming anymore, but you're paying 26. But then the other factor about this card, which can make it good, is coming into play. This card can help you very much with ending the game. And if you're playing stuff like kelp farming, trees, farming, you definitely want to end the game fast because those are rush cards most of the time. You can also play them in engine setups, but often you are rushing when you're playing these cards, and then placing 3 oceans or even doing 3 temperature bumps or whatever is definitely very, very helpful. Also on the Venus track, there are only a few really good cards that get unlocked high on the Venus track. Stratbirds comes to mind, Venusian Animals, Maxwell Base, and then there are cards that are also really good, but niche stuff like Freya Biodomes, or cards that get unlocked, really good cards that get unlocked relatively early, like Sulfur-Eating Bacteria. If you have control over multiple of these cards, then Idealistic Movement is insane because it allows you to get all of them down earlier than usual. And because there are so few of them, you know your opponent doesn't have any of them because you have hold of them, then you know that he can't make use of the Venus bumps you did for him. So I think this card is really good for ending games quickly or getting out multiple great cards that are unlocked by global parameters. So I think Idealistic Movement is quite strong. It also doesn't really do anything on its own, so you need to know how to use it. I don't know if it's balanced. I think this is a card that we would definitely need to play test before we can know for sure if it's too strong or too weak, or if it's all right. But really cool idea. And I think there's in Prelude 2, there's a new Prelude that does something similar. There, with that one, you can once per gen increase the global parameter without getting TR or any other bonuses for free. So that is quite similar, and I like that Prelude. So I also like Idealistic Movement. Let's get on to Monolith. This has a building tag, and it has a flexible cost, which is really interesting. First time that we ever have had something like that. First of all, it has an effect. When you are the first player to pass, add 1 ore resource here. You get 1 point for 7 ore resources. So each of these ore resources is really not worth that much. So this effect will maybe score you a point, maybe not. The problem is often the guy that passes first is the rush player, because rush players don't have that many actions to take. And engine players play a lot of action cards. They will pass last, but we will see that Monolith is more of an engine card. Therefore, this is a bit counterintuitive. So what about that flexible cost? Add X ore resources to this card. 1 VP per 7 ore resources on this card, maximum of 7 VP. So 7 VP would already be 49 ore resources on here. So I hope you have enough of those copper cubes for Monolith. So basically, you can decide how much you are willing to pay for Monolith. Because it's a building tech, you can also pay with steel. And therefore, this card could be an insane steel dump in the late game. But the thing is, for a point, you would need to spend 7 MC basically, which is not a great conversion rate. But if you're playing Mining Guild and you have like 10 steel prod, I had a game of Mining Guild with 11 steel prod a few days ago, then Monolith can be insane. Is this balanced? As I said, the effect is counterintuitive. This is really an engine card because you want to spend a lot of money on something that is not at all contributing towards ending the game. Because only if you spend a lot of money on it, you will actually get any points out of it. But you need to be the first player to pass to get more points here, although the effect really doesn't score you that much. We have talked about that already. So it's counterintuitive. It can score a maximum of 7 VP. It's quite expensive if you want to score 7 VP. I mean, 7 MC for a point is a really terrible conversion rate. So, and then you also need to factor in that you had to buy that card. So I think it's not that strong. It can be a really good, or it can at least be a steel dump in the late game, and you can be sure to spend all of your steel on it. If you have advanced alloys and tons of steel, then this card really can score well. But yeah, it's a really interesting concept. I love it. And I think it's good that it is not overpowered, because if a card like this would be overpowered, it would just be the best point card in the game, because you can just put all of your money in it and get as much points as you can at the end of the game. That wouldn't be great. But yeah, let's move on to the next one, which is Slum. Costs 3 MC, has a building and a city tag. Trusty old combo. Every Mars city has at least those 2 tags. Has a negative point, so not like Corporate Stronghold, which has -2 points, so that's nice. Decreases your energy production, like most cities that you place on Mars. And it tells you to place a city tile adjacent to at least one other city tile. So it's not like urbanized area, which needs to be placed between at least 2 cities. This one needs to be placed adjacent to at least 1 city. So getting a city down for 3 MC plus a power, yes, which can cost you money, but maybe you just have it lying around, is insane. Cities usually cost 21 or something like that. So you think about it. 5 MC for the point, let's say 5 MC. Let's say 7 MC for the power, that's 12. 12 plus 3 is 15. 15 plus 3 is 18. That's cheaper than what you should be paying for a city. And then you can also play it adjacent to at least another city tile to really annoy your opponent. You can block their ocean walk. You can, like, urbanized area. Everybody knows about urbanized area and tries to avoid creating scenarios where your opponent can place it in between your cities to score a lot of points. Slum is very hard to counter. It's going to be very, very difficult to always avoid setting up good slum spots. And because it's only -1 point and because it's so cheap, you will nearly always pick this up and find a use for it. Like, this is a really good card, I think. It's super good to snipe Mayor with. It can be great for Landlord. It can be great to block ocean walks. It can be great to score points. I think this is really, really cool. A really cool concept because it's realistic. And yeah, I love it. I think it's really strong. Great idea. Say it like that. And then lastly, we have Venus Migration. This costs 25. Really, it only costs 23 because you instantly get at least 2 MC back. It has 3 tags, an Earth tag, a Venus tag, and a Space tag. It grants 2 Venus bumps and a point. And also, it gains you 2 MC per Earth tag you have, including this. This card is overtuned. I think this is too strong. Let's think about what ways of increasing the Venus we got. We have, for example, Water to Venus, which is the most basic Venus increasing card. That costs 9 MC plus 3, so 12 for just a Venus bump. This costs 23 plus 3, so 26 for 2 Venus bumps and a point. Then it also has 3 tags. Water to Venus is a space event which also has its merits, but getting 3 tags is really nice, especially for maybe Eridor. But then you also get 2 MC back for every Earth tag you've got when you play this. Earth tags are super good. You want to play quite a few Earth tags early on because they are great development cards, stuff like Sponsors or Earthcat or Nuke Zone. Those are great early game cards. And then you just get Venus Migration down and you get really, really cheap points in the mid to late game. You can even play this relatively early if you need the Venus bumps. It's a space tag, which means that it's a really, really good titanium dump for the late game. Space tags already have great titanium dumps, but often only if you're going for Jovians. If you're not going for Jovians, the number of good titanium dumps for points is limited. And Venus Migration is a really good one. I think this is a bit overtuned, as I said, if we compare to Interstellar Colony Ship. That costs 24, so basically want to see more than this. It just grants 4 points. This grants 3 points, but it has a 5 science requirement. So I think Venus Migration is much stronger than that card, and ICS already sees quite a bit of play. So I think this is a bit too strong. I think the concept is great, but it probably should only grant 1 Venus bump and be a bit cheaper then. But yeah, I like the concept. I think it's too strong. But yeah, that was it. Again, thanks to AudunAG. Check out his original Reddit post in the description. Thank you all for watching as well. Please let me know in the comments what you think of these cards. And if you have fan-made cards that you would like to see me review next, also let me know. Best with the link or something. But yeah, as always, thanks for tuning in. Have a good one, guys, and goodbye.